Hey everyone, my name is the Theme Park Evangelist. Before I officially get started, I want everybody to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you haven't done so already, let me throw away that pillow, so to speak, metaphorically speaking. And also, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and like this vlog below. And also, please leave a positive comment below. So, as you can tell, I am about to vlog, and I got my trusty water bottle right here. So I am ready to get going. So, yeah, I just spilled water on myself, but what else is new? So, last night when I was vlogging, I mentioned that in my next vlog I wanted to discuss what my college life was like. No, obviously I'm not going to go into detail or anything because that would be boring. So instead, we're going to generalize it for you guys instead, because that's a lot more exciting, trust me. So, in all fairness, let's get into why I got into college in the first place. So, let's rewind, I should say, not fast forward. Let's rewind about 11 years ago. It was the summer of 2013. I finished up with all my finals, and I actually did really well. Sorry, I stuttered a little bit there, but anyway, I knew I did well enough, so all I had to do was walk. I had to do my graduation ceremony. I was done. I was like, yes. So I did my graduation ceremony, and I was like, well, I guess that's it then. I didn't really know what else to do. I didn't really plan on going back to school at the time. So I just figured, just focus on working at Publix. Now, Publix is one of the biggest supporters of education to date. And where I was working, ironically, the majority of the students, or the people, young people, I should say, that lived in Polk County, or at least Winter Haven, were going to school. And Polk State College had thousands of kids that were going there, and they were either trying to get into the nursing program, which was high in demand, or criminal justice to become one of many police officers. And I can't even imagine how many more people are trying to get into criminal justice now. It's not even funny, because your primary jobs in Polk County are either being a police officer or you're working in some kind of hospital. So take your pick. And I was like, I'm not really interested in either of those. I kind of want to do what my dad did and get my associate's degree for the sake of having it, and just see what would go on from there. So, anyway, I didn't make the decision right away. So, I'm going through, and I remember when my brother and my mom went back to school in August, and I was kind of feeling free at the time, and it was just kind of weird going back to Publix, and most of the young people had already gone back, and I'm still working. And keep in mind, at the time I was still in my teens. I mean my late teens going to my early 20s. I don't remember exactly when I turned. Actually, that's right, I turned 21 in 2014. So I was just about to turn 20. I was 19 at the time. And I was helping out an older lady one day. And she asked me, so, are you thinking about going back to school? And I told her I had not really crossed that bridge. And she basically insisted I go back. And then it started becoming more common. It happened like almost every day. I had a lot of older people ask me, are you planning on going back to school? And it got to the point where I was like, I can't keep doing this. I'm like, really? I can't come to work without being bugged about whether I want to go back to school or not, that kind of thing. So I prayed about it, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what, God? I'm going to look into going to Polk State College. So I drove over to the Legoland campus, which was 5 minutes away from me at the time. It was an old jail but now it's a college. Kind of creepy, right? And I went inside and I went to the admissions, and I told them I was interested, and they helped me um, register and all that. And they said, well, first and foremost, we need you to do a college entry exam. And I'm like, okay, well, where do I do that? And they sent me down to their Student Success Center, which was literally down a couple of stairs to the left. So I was like, okay, easy enough. They said, okay, so we're going to need your driver's license. We're going to hold on to it while you're doing the test. I'm like, that's fine. So I handed them my driver's license. And it was a room inside of a box, so to speak. So, I mean, it was in a main room, but you were behind glass. And I sat down at a computer, and they got me into the system. And they said, take all the time you need. And I started with one class, and I just kind of worked my way through. It took me about 2 to 3 hours, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't know how well I did. And gave me the results at the end. Said that my reading was kind of but could have been better. It wasn't terrible. English was about the same. And math was down in the dumps. I was like, oh. So then they had me go back to admissions, and they said, so you're going to have to take some remedial classes. They don't count as anything towards your college degree, but they will help you to be more prepared for your college classes. And I said, that's fine. Or that's fine. So they got me signed up for those remedial classes, so I took those right off the bat. I started in early January of 2014, and that's all I focused on throughout the spring of 2014. Honestly, I can't remember everything that I ever did in college. I remember one of the most interesting classes I ever took personally was a college success class they said I had to take as well, and that was at the Winter Haven campus. So I had to go over to the English building, so really big building. Then they sent me to the very top, and I got all the way up there, and of course the classroom was over by the library. And keep in mind, I had only graduated from high school a couple of years back, and I still had a bit of fear of this game called Aowani. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the game or not. It's a Japanese horror game, and the game legit takes place in a Japanese house, and there's the first time you see the Aowani, you're actually in a library, and there was a secret to the game that even my friend taught me, where you can type in the name South Park, which is a TV show, by the way, and I've seen a little bit of it. Hated the show with a passion. And it would allow you to see a South Park rendition of the game. And if that wasn't scary enough, not only did the college library remind me of the game, but my professor, my dude, legit loved South Park. It was his favorite TV show in the world, and I was like, you're kidding me right now. And then he ended up canceling classes half the time because he was always out traveling. And then the only homework he really ever assigned was reading. And I was like, dude, I can do that anywhere. And I'm like, you're kidding me, right? And that was like right off the bat that I had to do that. So it was once again back in 2014. I was in the process of looking for a girlfriend. I'll mention that. I don't mind. And I actually came across this young lady named Sade, and that's as much as I'm going to say about that. And I didn't realize at first that she was trying to use me. And I thought it was funny. She wanted to meet my parents, and she wanted to do it over my dad's birthday at the time. And my parents actually allowed it. And my parents thought this girl was being serious. And then about a week or two later, we were on spring break. So my parents were being nice, and they took my brother and I to the East Coast, to DeLand, Florida, something like that. They took us to the old Pancake House. And while we were on our way out there, this girl was going over her plans for the next day, and she accidentally gave herself away. Even back then, I was intelligent enough to realize something wasn't right, and I immediately pulled the plug on her plan, and I ended up just going to Disney by myself the next day, not gonna lie. That, or I just didn't go at all. I was like, I don't want to go to Disney anyway. It's spring break. I've only been to Disney less than 5 times during spring break, and I don't even care because it's just not a time I would like to go. Whether I'm a Florida resident or not a Florida resident, I just don't like going to Disney during spring break. End of discussion. So, yeah, so ended the short, long relationship of David and Sade. So, yeah, little did I realize she was taking advantage of me, and that's as much as I'm going to say about that. But anyway, I also had this really interesting physical education class, and the professor actually showed us the movie Super Size Me for my very first time. It was about a guy who decided to take on a challenge of eating nothing but McDonald's for 30 days straight. And because I was an idiot, the very next year, if I remember correctly, I decided to take on the challenge myself for 30 days straight without doctor's consent. And I didn't just do it one. Oh, I didn't. I should. Let me start over. Hold on. I didn't eat it 3 times a day like he did it. I did it 1 meal per day. So my game plan was to have 30 days worth of Shamrock Shakes. And I put on 30 pounds that year. And you wonder why I have a weight problem. And now I'm going to tell you guys right straight up, don't do it because it's not worth it. And you would think I would have learned something from the movie, apparently. I didn't. Uh-uh. And honestly, I got a lot lazier once I got into college because I started driving myself to school, so I didn't really have a reason to exercise as much as I used to. It's not like back in high school when I was forced to walk or bike ride 2 miles a day. No, not even that. 4 miles a day. Because I had to bike or walk ride to school, then bike or walk or bike ride back home. So it was 2 miles there and 2 miles back. And it was a lot. And it was about the same to get to college, but I was driving. So I was like, yeah, why do I care? So I know I didn't mean to sound so weird, but I mean, that's honestly how I was feeling at the time. And I was eating a lot worse. So I remember, so going back a little bit, I had this really interesting college professor in English. He was one of my remedial professors. This guy was probably the strictest about attendance I've ever had in my life. I mean, this blows my African geography professor to the ground. Like, the worst thing that my African geography professor did was he intentionally embarrassed me in front of everybody, but you know what? He still gave me 100% every single time for participation. So yeah, where I was going to college, they actually graded you for participation. That included attendance, of course. So if you were not just participating in the class, but whether you were actually showing up on time or not. And my African geography class was at 7:15 in the morning. And I have a hard time just getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning for work. Imagine trying to get back to being in college at 7:15 in the morning. Oh, beep. Ugh. Just, no. Um, So yeah, this professor, he was like, if you are 1 minute late coming into my class, I'm going to give you an immediate zero. So I had this professor twice in 2014. So I dig him for English 1 and English 2. Once again, I don't remember the name of the classes offhand. And it was actually my cousin Nicole's birthday back in 2014. November 10th to be specific. I accidentally came in a minute late. And he didn't say anything, of course. I mean, he never locked the door or anything, but, I walk in and I participated the entire time. And this honestly burned me more than anything. There were these two young guys. They were probably about the same age as I was. It was a couple. And they were always yawning the entire class. They were always on time. But this is what really peeled me off more than anything. They were never doing any work during class. Whether they were doing any work after class is beyond me. But my dudes were literally, so to speak, were literally playing around on the internet the entire time. And I was busting my butt. And I was even angrier with them that morning because I asked the professor if I got 100 for my attendance that morning. He said I got a big fat zero, even though I still showed up, even though I still participated, even though I was working my butt off the entire class because I was 1 minute late. He gave me a zero. Everybody else, including those two that never do any work, got 100 because they were on time. And that still burns me to this day. And it's been it's not even been 10 years yet. It's been almost 10 years. It's like, David, just let it go, man. I mean, come on, you were almost 20 at the time. No. You're almost 21 at the time, excuse me. And if I remember correctly, my 20th birthday, I was forced to do orientation at college. But now here comes the funny thing, and this is me being a little more personal here. So I think everybody found out that my 21st birthday was on November 11th, 2014. And they were doing free bowling nights at Cypress Lanes in Winter Haven, Florida. These days it's called Incredible Entertainment. I hate the name, but you know what? That's what it's called now. And I said, you know what? I'll go, because he told me that they would buy me my first drink. Alcoholic drink, to be specific. I said, heck yeah, I would love that. So I drove over there, and I'm looking around for this guy, and he never showed up. He was a no-call, no-show. I was like, I knew you were going to do that. I just knew you were going to do that. So I walked over to the bar. I put my ID down, and I told the bartender what kind of drink I wanted. Bartender looks at me. He goes, are you sure you're 21? And I said, look at my ID and see for yourself. He goes, no way, you just turned 21 today. I said, you better believe it. And he goes, well, what do you... Well, look, let me go ahead and get you what you want. And of course, I paid for him for it, and I walked out thinking, I am legal. So, yeah. Back in the day when it was so cool to whip out that ID, and these days I whip it out. I mean, it's still cool, but it's still like, eh. It's just one of those things. I've been legal for 9 years, almost 10 now as of November, and it's just like, eh. Like, the novelty is eventually going to wear off. But, I mean, it still makes me happy when people ask to card me. Just goes to show I look younger than I actually am, and I appreciate it. But there have been days when I've been walking into Kings Island Halloween Haunt to YouTube, and by rights, they're supposed to ask you for your ID as you're walking, and I always keep my wallet on me. And usually I come in my sweats because I'm cold. And I'm looking at the employees, and I'm like waiting for them to say, "Excuse me, sir, we need to see your ID." I'm like, okay, no problem. I pull out my wallet and I show them my ID and prove to them I'm clearly over 21. And then they go, "Oh, okay, well, you're good to go." But every time I go through, they never stop me. But yet, get this, like last year, I was going through, they looked right at me and said, "You're good." And then they stopped the guy directly behind me and asked him for his ID. It's like, okay, then. Now, I don't usually pay attention to who's right behind me, but I guess some people can just tell by looking at me I look older than I am. Like, I honestly try to shave once a week just so I do look older than I actually am. Now, granted that it's going to be a lot harder now working for Chick-fil-A, but yes, I do try to shave at least once a week just so I don't have that baby face on me. The only thing I have going for me as far as looking my age is my body build, and of course, if you listen to my voice, it obviously sounds older than it actually is. Because most people look at me next to my brother, and then they go, because my brother and I look so similar, and my brother honestly does look older than I do, but the honest truth is my brother's actually 3.5 years younger than me, which is hilarious. But anyway, back to the college life again. So another interesting class that I had during college. Trying to think here. Oh, sorry, I gotta go. Katie's calling me, but I will pause it for now. Sorry about that. I'm actually currently FaceTiming with Katie right now, but she's busy at the moment, so I'm gonna keep vlogging in the meantime. But anyway, I would personally say my absolute favorite class, I actually have mentioned this a couple of times already, was my African geography class because of the fact that I had. I mean, even though the professor did intentionally embarrass me, he and I were, relatively good friends, and we're still friends on Facebook, and I always enjoyed talking to him. I always enjoyed seeing him. He was the professor that actually came up with this idea to take us to the Winter Haven campus one day to go to some job fair. And ironically, it was on Earth Day of all days. And I have to blame Polk State College for this one. They were playing the Lorax of all the movies on Earth Day. Uh oh. Okay. Oh, Katie's back. Alright, I'm finally going to get this vlog over and done with. So, the other class I really, really liked was my biological issues class, maybe. And that was in the spring of 2019. So that class was really interesting because it had a lab to it too. And near the end of the semester, I thought it was really neat because of the fact that um, I got to go down to an elementary school that was off of Highway 27, Highway 60, one of the two. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was Highway 27. And we got to go collect water samples and soil samples from the lake out there, and we got to work with the kids. And the professor really liked me. Like, I didn't realize how much he liked me until my graduation day. My unofficial one, by the way. And I guess she had remembered. I mean, obviously, this was in 2019, but I mean, yes, just to, back things up, I did originally graduate college unofficially in 2017, but Oh, that's right. Now I remember. So what happened was I took this. Now I remember. That was actually the spring of 2017 that I took that class. Now I remember. So that's why she remembered me so well. Anyway, so when I first unofficially graduated from college, I happened to see her on my way to my chair, and she was so excited to see me. She gave me a big hug. I was like, "Aw!" And the other professor, the one that taught African geography, he gave me a big hug too. So it's always very reassuring when you see your professors, and they're so excited to see you and just celebrate your accomplishments, especially when they know you have disabilities, mental ones at that. I took some time off to just focus on Publix and Disney, and here comes where it got really stressful for me. And this is where I actually want to focus the rest of my time, just to prove to you guys that you can do anything through Christ strengthens you. And there's a reason why I say that at the end of every vlog. So I decided to go back in 2018, in the fall of 2018. I know, it seemed like a long time to wait, but I did. And I was talking to the college, and they said to me I still needed to take 2 more college level math classes. I might have started in spring, but don't quote me on that. I think it was the fall, but it might have been the spring. But either way, I had to take topics in math and explorations in math. And I was like, okay then. And they also said I had to take Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. And I was like, why do I need to take foreign language? And I'm like, why would you guys let me graduate if you knew I wasn't done with, if I hadn't taken foreign language? And they said to me, we assumed you never took any, or you took foreign language back in high school. And I said, you should have asked me. You just don't assume that kind of thing. And they go, well, we're sorry about that. And I'm like, okay, well, next time you do, just know to ask me. They go, okay. So, I might have started in the spring of 2018. I'm 99.9% sure now that I think about it, because I originally started taking a Spanish class with a really funny lady, and she taught this kind of like basic Spanish class, and that's when I first took topics in math, and that one took me a couple of tries, but I did finally get it. And I took the summer off because I was like, there's not many classes that are offered during the summer, unfortunately. Trust me, been there, done that. That was actually when I took that physical education class, was during one of the summers. And come the fall of 2018, I decided to go back, and that's when I took the Spanish class with Professor Policios, who's actually from Peru. And I was still working at Disney at the time, and I was also taking the other math class. So I was willing to do whatever it took to get through. And when I first started taking the Spanish class, I was trying to do the Spanish class by myself without any help. I was like, it's not that, it can't be that hard. And I was originally taking my Spanish tests in the classroom, because the way Polk State College works is any of their classes, you can either take the test in the classroom, or you can actually go up to the professor and go, hey, I need more time. Am I allowed to take the test in another place? And the law states the professor has to give you those accommodations. Now, I don't know about other colleges, but Polk State College does do that. So, when I first started taking the Spanish class with Professor Palacios, I was actually going to the classroom and I was taking the test, and I was working my own pace, and I would turn it in at the end of the class, and that was it. That was all you had to do. You would come in, do the test, turn in your test, and you would go home, and or you go to your next class, whichever. And I normally only took one class per day, just so I wouldn't overwhelm myself. I'm not saying that was my only class for the week. I would only take like one class per day, so I'm not like, holy crap, oh my word, that kind of thing. Like, I cannot handle this. So I was smart, I was thinking. And, sorry, brain fart. But anyway, I was getting help from Kay. You guys probably remember Kay. She's TJ's best friend. She's also one of my close friends. And I was going over to her house over by Winterset that I was mentioning last night. And I was meeting up with her to tutor math. She even gave up her own birthday just to help me. She used to come over to my parents' place. Obviously, I would have to pick her up. She did this all for free. She was willing to do whatever it took to help me. We went to the Lake Willis Park. And, of course, one of the worst mistakes we ever made, and this was my own fault, by the way, I didn't look up to see if they were doing anything on Wednesday evenings down at Lake Willis Park. And we used to go down to Lake Willis Park. Well, they were having something called Food Truck Day. And I was like, great. No, just when I needed a distraction. So, I get down there and I'm like, great. So I'm distracted, and Kay's worried because she just wants to make sure I'm doing my absolute best. And we kept coming up with different ideas. We even used to sit out in the patio of her house just so I would focus. We were doing whatever it took. When I started getting even more serious, I ended up leaving Disney actually 5 years ago, about early April of 2019. And I was just like, okay, we're down to the wire now. It's like, I got a little over a month, and, I'm retaking Spanish at this point again. And not only was I getting help with math, I was getting help with Spanish too. So I was like studying with her 30 plus hours a week. My parents were barely seeing me because, there were days when I would get done at Publix at 10 o'clock at night. I go over to Kay and Dell's house, and I was staying until after midnight. And I would get home and I go to sleep, and that was it. And I would do everything I need to do there. I was doing my homework, I was doing my studying, I was doing my quizzes, all at Kay and Dell's house. I was even getting ready for work early, just to go over to Kay and Dell's house. I was picking up Starbucks and taking it over to Kay and Dell's house and studying early. I was using as much free time as I possibly could to devote towards making sure I could push myself through this class. Kay was sacrificing so much free time. I even started using the whole idea of like, okay, I'm going to stop taking my tests in the classroom, and I started asking for the accommodations, and I started taking my tests in a separate area, and I felt like it was really working out better for me. My grades started improving. Don't get me wrong, they were still struggling, but I am excited to say I went from having a D plus in Spanish to a B plus in Spanish. I was like, yes. So, you can do it if you put your mind to it. Now, math was still a struggle for me, and I was very discouraged about that. But to make a long story short, when I finally did find out about Eastern Gateway Community College, and I did push through everything, and I did my all my electives. I brought my GP up from a 3.0 to a 4.0. And I just stayed strong. It took me a little over a year. I got my associate's degree in my room. Just to think, I started working on my associate's degree in 2014, and here we are 10 years later, and I finally have it. It took me almost 9 years. It took me almost 10 years to get basically just to get my associate's degree. But guess what? I have it now, and I'm very happy about it. No, that doesn't have anything to do with the theme parks, but you know what? The whole time I was in college, I still made time to go to Disney. I still made time to go to Universal. I still made time to go to Legoland. I still made time to go to Disney Springs. Sure, I wasn't as good as I am now. And, that. Sorry, let me start over. The thing is with my YouTube channel, am I uploading a lot more, or a lot more, or a lot less? I'm uploading a lot less. Is my content better? In some ways, yes, because I have a lot more variety now. I'm also spending a lot more time being more open and honest and personal about my past. It's something I never did before. I mean, in some ways, yes, I was doing it back then, but now it's even more obvious. Would I say back then my content was lacking? No. I was always vlogging at Disney or Universal or Legoland, anything to that nature, 3 times a week at the minimum. Sometimes more. But the problem was my quality was not that great. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to vlog. I didn't really know exactly how to vlog something. Like, let's say, for example, there was construction going on in Magic Kingdom. I didn't really know how to go about doing it. I didn't really know how to make a decent vlog. I didn't even really know how to entertain people of other things. I didn't really know how to make my YouTube channel look decent. Not to mention, my video quality was just poor in general. Like, I had shaky hands. You could barely see what was going on. My YouTube channel honestly did not start improving until 2019. If you want to go back and see when my YouTube channel actually got good, it was not until 2019. From 2016 till 2018 was when it was at its worst. Like, even though I had so much good content to show, it was like, I didn't know how to put it together, and on top of that, like I said, the shaky hands and everything, I was just like, ugh. And I was so focused on college at the time, and I didn't know how to budget everything. I finally figured out how to budget a work life, an engagement life, a YouTube life, and family life, and not to mention a social life. And there's always a bit of both. And there are some people who reach out to me on Meta Business Suite and say to me, you need to be uploading every single day. Some people reach out to me on Meta Business Suite and say you need to be uploading at least 3 times a week. And at the end of the day, it's all about personal opinion. It's all about personal preference. And I have basically narrowed it down to, if I want to upload 1 day a week, that's fine. If opportunity allows for me to upload more than 1 day a week, awesome. Then I'll go ahead and do it. Like right now, while Katie's away, I'm going to upload a lot more. And with an historic event like the total eclipse coming and I happen to be off, I'm going to jump on it. But when Katie comes back, you're not going to see as much of me again. That doesn't mean that, all of a sudden, oh, got to go back to 1 day a week. That just depends on my work schedule and Katie's for that matter. You never know. I might be off 1 day next week and Katie might be working and I might be able to tell you guys, guess what? I'm going to be YouTubing. For all I know, I might be off on April 20th and Katie may not be. Or I might be off on April 19th and Katie may not be. And if I'm off on either one of those days, I'm going to Kings Island. And even if Katie cannot go, guess what? There's an opportunity for me and all of you, but not for her. And, yes, unfortunately, I have had days in college where I had to rush back from Disney or whatever because of a college class, but there were also days I had to rush back from the parks just to find out that my class was canceled because they didn't bother to email me and tell me that my class was canceled. And I was like, seriously? So, I guess the best way to put to answer how I'm summarizing this is, yes, my YouTube channel used to be different back then. Yes, I have had an interesting college life, and also, yes, I have been really bad about learning how to budget time, but I've also learned how to improve upon it too. Everything changes with time. Like, I love going back and reminiscing with you guys about my past because I love looking at my past and going, this is what it was like then, this is what I used to do back then, this is what it's like now. And just realizing that, I can't go back, but I can move forward, and I can look forward too. So with that being said, I will see you guys in the next vlog. And always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Have a great night. Peace out.